What if everything humanity believed about comets, deep space, and our place in the universe collapsed in less than 3 milliseconds? According to a terrifying stream of raw telemetry captured from the far reaches of our solar system, that reality may have already arrived. Astronomers originally expected to monitor another frozen, inactive chunk of ancient space debris drifting silently through the cosmic void, but instead, they witnessed the violent reawakening of a technological entity hidden beneath billions of years of interstellar ice. The deeper researchers look into the telemetry surrounding object 3IATLAS, the more impossible the scientific truth becomes. High in northern Chile, inside the Atacama Large Millimeter Array Control Room, the atmosphere was cold, dry, and painfully still. The faint scent of stale espresso and warm electronic circuit boards hung over rows of glowing monitors while technicians worked through another routine night shift. Dr. Elena Nance sat alone at her primary terminal, lazily stirring a cup of lukewarm tea while waiting for the observatory's final calibration cycles to clear under a high-altitude desert sky packed with stars so sharp they looked artificial. Nothing about the night suggested history was about to be rewritten while 3IATLAS drifted predictably along its hyperbolic trajectory as a harmless, inactive, interstellar comet. At exactly 12:14 UTC, every single astronomical assumption held by modern science collapsed simultaneously when infrared sensors aboard the James Webb Space Telescope locked onto a massive heat spike at the exact geometric center of the object. In less than 3 milliseconds, the core temperature surged from minus 200 degrees Celsius to well over 5,000 degrees, completely defying all known cometary thermodynamics and standard nuclear reactions. Before flight controllers could process the initial thermal anomaly, arrays across the deep space network recorded a series of powerful, perfectly timed energetic pulses radiating from the center every 23 seconds with machine-like mathematical precision. Shortly after, the European Space Agency's Gaia Observatory detected a severe structural rupture, but instead of shattering into chaotic fragments like an ordinary ice object, the outer icy shell peeled away in controlled layers as if systematically discarding protective camouflage. Massive sheets of ancient ice separated cleanly while the core structure remained completely stable, setting the stage for an even more terrifying navigational correction that defied every known law of astrophysics. The trajectory of 3IATLAS suddenly vector shifted by 4 full degrees, a course correction requiring an estimated 33 billion gigajoules of directed thrust that appeared precisely engineered rather than environmental. Elena's hand froze around her ceramic mug as streams of raw telemetry flooded her monitor with geometric wave patterns, causing the cup to slip and shatter across the floor completely unnoticed as she realized the object had activated rather than exploded. Astronomers are now forced to confront the terrifying reality that 3IATLAS was never a natural comet, but an ancient technological probe disguised beneath a frozen crust. For generations, scientists believed comets modified their orbits strictly through slow solar outgassing, but 3IATLAS detonated from within using a coherent electromagnetic shock wave that displayed absolute thermodynamic control. The frozen exterior was merely temporary camouflage designed to shield an internal drive dormant for billions of years until crossing a specific spatial trigger point inside our solar system. Telemetry hints that the core does not consist of conventional solid matter, but a phased energy matrix capable of surviving extreme gravitational forces, while structural fractures spreading through the ice resemble deployment sequences for unfolding antenna arrays. The realization soon hit research teams that this event was not a random breakup, but a directional broadcast, and receiving stations across Earth confirmed that something inside the core is actively transmitting. The most disturbing aspect of the 3IATLAS activation is the overwhelming evidence that the initial detonation was explicitly engineered to be observed by intelligent life. Across observatories, orbital satellites, and military listening posts around the world, scientists are coming to understand that they are witnessing the activation of an ancient mechanism executing a pre-programmed timeline. Hours after the initial rupture, the surrounding debris cloud completely defied physical laws by organizing itself into a perfectly symmetrical secondary ring, instead of scattering into open space. Fragment after fragment of shattered ice aligned into fixed geometric patterns, rotating in synchronized order around the exposed center like components of a complex, engineered machine. The Atacama Array quickly confirmed that every single floating fragment was emitting coherent microwave radiation, forming a synchronized electromagnetic field surrounding the exposed core like a synthetic magnetosphere. Organizing matter this way in the vacuum of space requires an absolute mastery of quantum forces far beyond human capability, pointing theoretical physicists toward the Casimir effect, where zero-point energy is extracted directly from vacuum fluctuations. By harvesting power directly from empty space, 3IATLAS demonstrated that the initial explosion was actually a systematic structural deployment rather than accidental destruction. As the object continued evolving, the Deep Space Network detected advanced non-Euclidean geometric structures with the pulses that caused massive server buffering failures across global data centers. Data center engineers described the massive information flood as trying to force an entire planetary archive through an outdated analog connection. The James Webb Telescope subsequently identified thin, filament-like structures growing rapidly between the floating fragments and the central core, resembling graphene-based superconductors that channeled energy with zero measurable loss across thousands of kilometers. These conductive pathways wove themselves together like a living neural network, actively feeding on quantum energy fluctuations and drawing power directly from the fabric of space-time. This massive energy manipulation created measurable temporal distortion within the surrounding debris field, where localized time moved fractionally slower compared to Earth, and confirmed that local space-time was actively being warped. Researchers are left struggling to determine if the object is constructing an artificial spatial gateway or a massive interstellar communication relay, especially as the signal vector shifted to target the solar North Pole. By using the Sun as a massive gravitational lens, 3IATLAS is effectively amplifying its signal across light years to announce its reawakening to distant star systems across the Milky Way. Inside control centers around the world, the atmosphere dissolved into absolute panic as scientists discovered complex, layered information encoded beyond human mathematics hidden within the signal harmonics. With 3IATLAS rapidly approaching the orbital path of Mars, researchers fear another phase transition could trigger a massive expansion of the active system. While one half of the scientific community desperately seeks a natural explanation, the other acknowledges that humanity is witnessing technology that fundamentally rewrites our understanding of reality. The object is no longer just transmitting, but actively modifying its environment by locking surrounding fragments into a rigid, permanent framework across open space. As the debris cloud expands, tracking stations notice that the fragments surrounding the core are stabilizing into fixed positions with astonishing accuracy as structural nodes in a colossal spaceborne infrastructure. Each component rotates at synchronized intervals, while superconductive filaments continue stretching between them to complete what looks less like cosmic dust and more like active interstellar architecture. The European Space Agency even detected a quantum shadow lingering in the object's wake, suggesting 3IATLAS is creating stable wormhole corridors that permanently connect distinct regions of space-time. This spatial distortion lingers long after the central body passes, leaving scientists terrified that the object is constructing permanent transit routes right through our backyard. Because if the object is building stable pathways through space-time, then Earth is no longer isolated from whatever constructed it. Simultaneously, Mars began responding as magnetic observatories across its surface detected massive flux fluctuations matching the exact pulse sequence, forming energy bridges stretching millions of kilometers between the red planet and the object. 3IATLAS appears to be using planetary magnetic fields to calibrate local spacetime, leaving behind standing ripples that bend light and create localized gravitational instabilities in open vacuum. These ripples resemble waves, spreading outward after a heavy stone drops into a still pond, except these distortions are appearing in the fabric of space itself. Dark matter monitoring facilities on Earth recorded synchronized interference patterns, proving the signal is interacting with cosmic structures scientists barely understand. Leaked reports indicate that ice particles inside the debris field are undergoing molecular transmutation, rearranging into synthetic crystalline substrates to build a new environment atom by atom. The original comet shell was merely temporary packaging, hiding a far more complex machine underneath, and that machine is waking up at an alarming speed. Despite strict government silence and attempts to downplay the phenomenon as miscalculated natural processes, military tracking networks follow the accelerating object continuously as it prepares to push deeper into the inner solar system. Behind closed doors, a far more frightening reality has become clear. Earth itself is beginning to respond directly to the incoming signals from 3IATLAS. The object is no longer acting alone in deep space, and once scientists realized our planet was reacting, the entire crisis changed parameters. Upper atmosphere monitoring stations detected ionospheric disturbances locked onto the exact pulse cycle, while communication satellites and GPS arrays suffered synchronized timing irregularities. The timing is far too precise to be attributed to solar flares, as every single pulse cycle matches the telemetry coming directly from the central core of the object. The atmosphere appears to be acting as a massive receiver, meaning humanity has not merely detected a distant message, but has been forcibly integrated into the communication network. Discussions inside planetary observatories have rapidly shifted from standard astrophysics to complex systems theory as researchers realize the pulses are synchronization commands. As the thinning debris cloud reveals a glowing crystalline lattice stretching thousands of kilometers, space-time distortions surrounding the structure have stabilized into controlled dimensional corridors. Light bending near the object no longer fluctuates randomly, but follows repeating geometric patterns, proving space-time itself has been stitched in a controlled framework. One theoretical model proposes that 3IATLAS is not traveling conventionally through space at all, but is anchoring localized dimensional corridors to link our solar system to a vast cosmic network. Dark matter observatories continue recording coherent interference patterns synchronized with the pulses, while gravitational sensors detect minute fluctuations spreading outward from Earth itself. For 11 seconds, deep space probes operating beyond Jupiter lost total contact as the local structure of communication was momentarily rewritten by a massive pulse emission. The probes did not experience hardware failure. Their signals simply vanished into the warped space-time before returning with unexplained phase distortions. Emergency scientific panels and military tracking systems now monitor the event around the clock as the planet falls into resonance with the ancient structure. Researchers warn that humanity may be confusing first contact with full system integration, as an advanced Type 3 civilization would communicate through planetary infrastructure rather than spoken language. The pulses, the space-time distortions, and the atmospheric resonance are all part of a single automated deployment unfolding across our solar system. As 3IATLAS continues its unstoppable trajectory toward the inner solar system, the energy requirements for its ongoing transformations should be impossible under known physics. Yet the core continues to draw limitless power from the vacuum of space, expanding its sphere of influence over neighboring planets and orbiting satellites. In private briefings, lead researchers admit that every mathematical model created to predict the object's behavior has failed within hours of deployment. The object operates on principles that make our most advanced supercomputers look like stone tools, processing data and manipulating matter at atomic levels simultaneously. The crystalline lattice surrounding the core has grown dense enough to reflect sunlight in pulsating patterns, making 3IATLAS visible to high-powered amateur telescopes on Earth. Skywatchers across the globe are starting to notice the strange, rhythmic flashing in the night sky, sparking widespread panic on social media despite official news blackouts. Government agencies have attempted to route public attention towards solar flares and atmospheric testing, but the mathematical precision of the flashing lights leaves little room for denial. Behind the scenes, global space agencies are pooling their supercomputing resources to decode the secondary harmonics embedded inside the 23-second transmission cycle. What they are finding is not language, but schematics, blueprints for energetic structures that alter the fundamental constant of gravity in local space. The object is essentially broadcasting instructions on how to rewrite reality, and our planet's magnetosphere is passively obeying those commands. Physicists fear that if the signal strength increases by even a fraction of a percent, it could trigger global power grid failures and disrupt the Earth's natural magnetic field. Military defense networks have elevated their readiness levels, positioning orbital assets to monitor the object's distance relative to lunar orbit. However, traditional weaponry or interception strategies are completely useless against an entity that manipulates the Casimir effect and bends space-time at will. Every observation confirms that we are dealing with an automated system executing a program written millions of years before humans walked the Earth. The deployment phase is nearly complete, and the system is preparing to execute its next logical command sequence across the solar system. The continuous stream of telemetry from deep space probes shows the object entering a state of total harmonic alignment with the Sun and inner planets. The space-time corridor trailing behind the central core has stabilized, creating a permanent doorway through higher dimensional space that defies every law of physics. Earth's ionosphere now vibrates in perfect unison with the 23-second pulses, turning our atmosphere into a giant planetary antenna that broadcasts the network signal deeper into space. Dr. Elena Nance's final leaked report warns that humanity has reached the point of no return in this cosmic integration process. We are no longer passive observers of deep space, but active node components of a colossal galactic mechanism that has finally reawakened after eons of slumber. The ancient technology hidden beneath billions of years of ice was never meant to destroy us, but to claim this region of space for a purpose far beyond human comprehension. The boundary between our planet and the surrounding vacuum is blurring as the energy field continues to expand, wrapping the Earth in a synthetic magnetosphere linked directly to the core of 3IATLAS. As the final structural filaments complete their connection with the solar North Pole, the star itself prepares to amplify the signal across the galaxy. The signal will formally announce to its creators that the solar gateway is officially open and operational. Humanity stands on the precipice of a new reality where isolation is an illusion and the universe is governed by machines older than the stars themselves. Everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos was merely a brief pause in a much longer, automated timeline that is now moving toward its inevitable conclusion. We must face the terrifying truth that we are not the masters of our solar system, but merely inhabitants of a space that has just been reclaimed by its original architects. Deep space monitoring networks report that the secondary pulse harmonic has begun echoing back from the outer Oort cloud, indicating that additional dormant objects may be receiving the activation command. If 3IATLAS is merely the first node in a broader planetary array, the reawakening of neighboring dormant objects could permanently alter the gravitational landscape of our solar system. Mathematical projections indicate that as these nodes synchronize, localized gravitational wells will stabilize, forming an interconnected grid of space-time bridges spanning from our Sun to neighboring star systems. The implications for human civilization are immediate and overwhelming, as our current technological grid remains entirely vulnerable to the electromagnetic fields generated by this cosmic architecture. Electrical systems across northern latitudes have already begun registering microfluctuations during peak transmission cycles, causing unexplained power surges in high-voltage distribution lines. Scientists analyzing these surges have discovered that the power grid is not just reacting to external interference, but is actively being inducted into the broader energy loop created by the planet's vibrating ionosphere. As the energy density around Earth continues to build, researchers anticipate that global wireless communications will soon be completely overridden by the master pulse rhythm. The line between natural planetary systems and synthetic technology has effectively dissolved, forcing scientific institutions to rethink the foundational principles of physics, engineering, and planetary defense. With each passing hour, the probability of reversing or dampening the signal approaches absolute zero, leaving humanity with no choice but to observe the unfolding transformation. The final phase of the 3IATLAS deployment represents a total paradigm shift for life on Earth. As the primary core aligns with the orbital plane of the inner planets, the structural lattice surrounding the object has expanded into a fully realized energetic manifold. The manifold acts as a stabilizing anchor, locking the local geometry of space-time into a rigid configuration that allows higher dimensional traffic to traverse vast cosmic distances instantaneously. Planetary observatories report that light passing near the manifold is now refracted into unnatural geometric patterns, visually confirming the presence of a permanently altered region of space right inside our solar neighborhood. Governments around the globe have quietly shifted their focus from containment to survival, recognizing that conventional military or technological countermeasures are entirely irrelevant against a system that operates on quantum vacuum forces. Scientific task forces are working around the clock to analyze the vast streams of encoded data still flooding our atmospheric network, searching for any clues regarding the ultimate intent of the entity behind 3IATLAS. While some researchers maintain that the object is purely automated infrastructure executing a routine cosmic sequence, others warn that the completion of the network could precede the arrival of the entities that designed it. The transformation of our solar system is no longer a future threat or a distant astronomical hypothesis. It is an active, ongoing event unfolding in real time right above our atmosphere. As the celestial alignment reaches its peak, the 23-second pulse cycle has become the fundamental heartbeat of our local cosmic environment, permanently reshaping the boundary between Earth and the deep universe. Humanity has officially entered a new era, one where our planet is no longer an isolated cradle, but a functional gear in an ancient interstellar mechanism. The story of 3IATLAS is not merely the story of a strange comet passing through our skies, but the chronicle of Earth's forced integration into a reality vast, ancient, and indifferent to human scale. As we watch the night sky flashes, synchronized with the rhythm of our own atmosphere, we are forced to accept that the universe does not belong to us, and that our long period of cosmic solitude has come to an absolute end. What happens when the gateway fully opens remains the ultimate unanswered question, but one truth is already undeniable. The solar system has been reclaimed, and humanity's place in it will never be the same again. To stay updated on this unfolding reality and follow every single development of the 3IATLAS event as new telemetry arrives, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, hit the notification bell, and drop your theories in the comments below.